morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Welcome aboard. We are presently climbing through 33,000 feet for cruising altitude of 38,000 feet, which is equivalent to 11,500 meters above mean sea level. We have started our descent into Kathmandu.
The chain of the Himalayas. Everest appears at plane level. Height 8,844 meters and 43 centimeters. Annapurna 8,091 meters. And a little further east, as if hiding in a hollow in the mountains or under the clouds, the Kingdom of Bhutan. A nation that many people have never heard of, Bhutan's as big as Switzerland, but the similarity stops there. Since the kingdom of Sikkim was annexed by India and Tibet by China, Bhutan has been described as the last Buddhist bastion of the Himalayas. How many people can locate this country of 700,000 inhabitants without confusing it with Suriname or the Tonga Islands?
Okay, this is China, this is India, this is Nepal, and Bhutan is here.
A king presides over the nation's destiny. The people profess undying love for their sovereign. In the context, the slightest reticence or criticism would seem shocking, even from an independent journalist.
We don't criticize the king because the king is something that is very sensitive to us. It is something we respect the king, and if we ever try and do that, it's going to disappoint the people, you see. The king means a lot more than that, and that is something we don't do.
But then the king in person had decided to abolish the absolute monarchy, give the country a constitution, and create a parliamentary democracy. A king who abolishes his own power and gives it to the people, is that really believable? A process of consciousness raising is underway with a plethora of meetings about administrative provisions, the setting up of parties, and the organization of elections. All ready for a great leap into the unknown. The Bhutanese are wondering why they should import a political system which works so badly in neighboring countries, plagued by corruption, dominance of elites, instability, territorial disputes, and sterile discussions. How will the strongly Buddhist local culture and lifestyle deal with such drastic changes? The Bhutanese monarchy has found its place in the international community and been a member of the UN since 1971. Why risk destabilizing things now? An unrelenting process of modernization is underway. Everywhere in the towns and in the mountains, mobilization for democracy has begun. This is the local school in Jibjoka, in the west of the kingdom.
When we talk about democracy in Bhutan, in the rest of the world, we can hear people killing people. We can hear people having so much of wars to get democracy. But in our country, our king himself, he has handed over the government to the people.
There is one question for me, sir. Why actually, the democracy, there is no need to make democracy, as our country is developing much compared to olden time, because it make it very peaceful by our fourth king. So why the fourth king think that there should be democracy? So
Okay, well said, Nado. Okay, now listen. A very good question raised by Nado here. Everybody thinks that democracy is not important. But what I want to tell you here is, it is not the decision of us. It was a novel decision by our king.
I think it may give more corruption, more wars, like in other countries they have some, in India they have some wars like that, no. But as our Buddhist people, we all religious, so it may be, I'm praying for God that it would not be happen for our future.
A child of today is a father of tomorrow. So as a citizen, it is your responsibility. As a student, because you are coming from the different places of this Dzongkhag, to tell your parents, because your parents are uneducated, isn't it?
Yes. My parents are farmers. They did not know any about democracy, and because of their uneducation.
All of you are parents. All of you, including me, we should participate. Because it is not for one people, it is for all of us. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. Our king will act like our people, and our people will act like our king.
In spite of everyone's best efforts, the idea of democracy in Bhutan remains something of a mystery for many people here. The Bhutanese are looking at us with our democratic system, which for the moment seems so remote to them. Nonetheless, when school is over and the children are not looking, the teachers of Jibjoka express a few citizenly doubts, like everyone else.
But then it's like that. Before, when I heard of democracy going to start in our country, I was also a bit nervous.
It is quite shocking for us now, being a citizen, that why? We people got so much attached with our king, and we love our king. We don't want him to lose his power, actually.
Like the people who are
There's every
in
possibility,
village, those who are illiterate, those who don't have the idea about the democracy, quite different.
Now they are getting into
But
it,
it's
and they are getting,
quite tough.
they are
slowly,
getting the real concept, what democracy means.
We cannot deny the fact that democracy is a concept brought to Bhutan by our king.
Yeah.
Maybe sooner or later we will be equipped, we will be knowledge with it, and then I hope democracy will do better. But what I feel personally is, since it is a recent change or reforms made by our king, so I feel though we have democracy side by side, our role of our king should be there, little bit, because we have to guide.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
That's what I
let's
feel,
hope for better, Mush.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Why change a system of government which no one here contests? A few years ago, the king had even installed a minister of gross national happiness, a catchphrase which has found an appreciative audience in the West. The minister promotes the idea of gross national happiness from village to village.
Gross national happiness is the guiding philosophy of Bhutan's development process, conceived by His Majesty the Fourth King. And it is based on the belief that development must have a meaning, must have a purpose.
Has happiness found the frontiers it needs? Protected from invaders by its rugged and naturally enclosed terrain, deliberately accommodating in external relations, taxing tourists to keep their numbers down, the country has managed to remain apart from the world. The official language is Dzongkha, but English is spoken. The local currency is the Nultrum. 1 Nultrum buys a sweet. 50 Nultrums buys a bottle of oil. Bhutanese women normally wear the traditional dress, the kira. For men, it's the go, or something quite different. On a more serious note, in the 80s the government, nervous at the number of Nepalese living on its territory, expelled tens of thousands of mainly Hindu undocumented settlers, some of whom had been there for decades. Since then, they've been living in refugee camps under the aegis of the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, over the mountains in Nepal, which has also refused them citizenship. It is a very sensitive topic here, a complex and painful topic. The country is relatively prosperous, with an economy based on agriculture, its upmarket tourist industry, and first and foremost, hydroelectric production. The goddess electricity. The gods watch over a treasure which can be exported to India, the privileged trading partner of Bhutan, who also financed the plant. The king keeps watch too, omnipresent, even in the depths of the mountain. And on the surface too, the king again, with 1,000 faces. The king, the king, the king. His popularity is considerable, but his intention to give up power disconcerts many Bhutanese. His reply is that the country's present peaceful state makes it a good time to modernize. Even though the winds of democracy have been blowing for some time, as early as 1953 a parliament was created sanctioning an element of popular participation in the running of the country. Admittedly, it was under the supreme royal authority, but still. And where is the king? He's been here. He was there. We are told he is in his office. Then maybe he isn't. He refuses to give interviews for fear of influencing the democratic debate that is beginning to take shape. But today he's going to speak, as he does every year on the same date. It's Bhutan's National Day. Something's happening. We're asked to step back. It's him. There he is. He was 17 in 1972 when, on the death of his father, he became the fourth king of Bhutan, the heir of the Wangchuck dynasty. A convinced Buddhist, at 52, he's decided that it's time to pass on the throne to his son. Here he is, King number 5, as he's already generally known here. A graduate of Oxford, he is 27 and will be crowned in a few months' time. He greets his father, who slips into the background. He will lose his full powers and retain a role as the guarantor of the institutions, just a constitutional monarch for parliamentary democracy on the British model.
Tatalafa gave the message. Machikairagi Genku Bomshodera Matsuki Lamludi. The Matsuki Lamludi Gutsubdalu Lejime Gutsul. Tijable Lochiwa Lochi Dindi Zonida. Lochiwa Lochi Lejim Zodi. Indra Berura, the Sidana Luchama Tomisul Tauda, Kaira. Chiwachi tap, Chiwachi Keo Tanzadul, Chara Genku Bakdive, Machi peasant to be Gakaplu Chashi Cup, Niki Japcho de, Chelu Ribumbera, Tweediviu.
He mixes with the crowd as his father did before him. The royal speech has inspired new vocations. Sering Penjor, one of the teachers in the school of Jibjoka, has decided to be a candidate. Namke Wanchuk, driver, furniture dealer and occasional property developer, stands out among his friends for having the wildest ambitions.
We will be the future president of Bhutan. I'll be the prime minister, he'll be my bodyguard, he'll be my driver.
If I was a prime minister, first and foremost, Bhutan would put Bhutan on the world's map at top rank in tourism industry.
First and foremost thing I'll do is education. Education, okay?
After the democracy comes, I think the Bhutan, our country, might be much more modernized than right now. For example, like McDonald's, KFC,
Pizza Huts,
they might come out.
No jokes.
Mock elections have been organized to get people used to the idea of universal suffrage. Colours represent the different parties, with imaginary policies which turn out to be pretty similar. It's only an exercise. She will be the fictitious candidate for a party advocating opening up to the world. He will be the candidate of traditional values. Both proclaim themselves worthy successors to the king. The raised fists are to express confidence in the country's future. In fact, the same phrases come up time and again in everyone's program: national identity, cultural values, Buddhism.
계주기 개배 제대로 대백갑로디 미스트스로 원스 지남스비 미토베바 대보다다 원스 유션디 고츠베간레 원스지가 알아로 모시 원스 취베스 미스트스 원스 토베바데
남삼이 강일치 미테무스노메 인르에 nga치기 만순슝 슬랍다 nga치 미드스기 담바디 원스디 노사타메 원스디다 치카 nga치기 겐쿠티 포핌 가게 아니 노사미타메 바니 베우달루 nga치기 짝투기 갑루 강일 축구치 미탄가스노메
अब देवर का इंगला बेगो वाशिंग चीज होगी नहीं गाल सुधा देंगे आगे छोटी तो से जीव
Voting machines are starting to appear. They are electronic. They're carried like a surprise gift, a box of secrets or a new toy. You want to choose the yellow candidate? Press the yellow button. The red one? Both at once? Lost. No vote. But it isn't just fun. The army and the police have been called in to supervise the democratic procedure, as if it were for real. The teachers of Jibjoka have volunteered to be assessors. As the polling stations in the mountains are far apart, each assessor takes a different direction, with his voting machine over his shoulder. Even if they live far away, the peasants dutifully converge on their assigned polling station. It may be 3 or 4 hours' walk, but it's the king's request. The roads are chaotic in the heat of early summer. When you finally arrive, there's an interminable queue, and this is just for the trial run. Maybe the secret of all this effort lies not so much in a passion for democracy, but more in the pleasure of a get-together with distant friends. The security measures are not just for show. The government fears that the democratic proceedings will be disrupted by Maoist militants who support the Nepalese in the camps.
I voted for Druk Yellow Party because Druk Yellow Party was the development of the country through tradition and culture.
I voted for Red because the leader was a woman, and I liked the idea of having a woman as a leader, so I just voted for her.
But not everyone has voted. The Electoral Code forbids the clergy from participating. Some monks deplore the fact that they have been sidelined. Others, like Longteng Gyatso, the director of a monastic university, think that the separation is necessary.
Keeping the members of the monastic institutions away from politics, I think it's a very wise decision, especially for a country like Bhutan, where religion is regarded as a very high position in the society. I think we need to continue the tradition of placing very important status of the monastic body way above politics. When you talk about materialism, when you talk about globalization, I think it all boils down to individual choices, you know. Whether you have a democratic government or whether you have a monarchical government, individuals are individuals. At the end of the day, what is important for ordinary people is happiness, comfort, rights. That's what is important. Social peace, tranquility. Now, in the name of democracy, if this doesn't happen, then what's the meaning of democracy?
7 p.m., election day in Paro, the country's second city. There are some signs of a gathering in the main square, but nothing to speak of. Maybe it was all a Western dream. "8 p.m., Thimphu, the capital. Some brave the law against smoking applied everywhere in the country. A challenge to authority, but not a rebellion.
I think this is the only monarch, the fourth king in Bhutan, was the only monarch in the world where he said, no, I'm getting old, let me hand over. Yeah. Because like, usually it's like, the king is dead, long live the king. You know? But in Bhutan it's very different. The whole concept of monarchy and democracy is very different.
All I can say is as an artist, I don't know anything about democracy, but I look forward to it. You know, I love change, but I look forward to it with trepidation.
9 p.m. the capital comes alight. At the Electoral Commission, the results come through province after province. There's a problem. Of the 300,000 Bhutanese who registered for the election, only a little over half actually voted.
There were still a few voters who did not know how to use the electronic voting machine.
Since all the results are relayed here on the screen in English, so with this, Chimi and Gelza, I would like to read out the results in Dzongkha.
The candidate of the Yellow Party won easily with 2/3 of the vote in 19 provinces out of 20. Why the Yellow Party? Yellow is the colour of the king. So as not to influence the voters, the king has announced that there will be no colours attached to the parties in the real election. The mock elections are now a distant memory, and we are moving on to the real thing. In every province, electoral banners are sprouting all over. The chosen method is this. The non-partisan members of the National Council will be elected first in each district. Then the members of the National Assembly, representing the political parties, will be elected. The winning party will form a government, with their leader as Prime Minister. Two parties have been created, the DPT and the PDP. Their differences may not seem that great to the untrained eye. Their leaders are old acquaintances. One of them will soon be Prime Minister. They've had to leave their ministerial posts for the occasion and hit the campaign trail as simple citizens. Their makeshift campaign headquarters are staffed by special advisors of the king, experts and former ministers, people who have always been at the heart of the administration. The campaign has already started, even if the campaigners are completely in awe of their leader. The two rivals are both educated and experienced members of the establishment. Both are very close to the king and have always known each other. One is the king's brother-in-law and wields considerable influence in court circles. The other, although he doesn't have family links with the royals, can claim another form of legitimacy.
There are, for instance, pockets of poverty. There are areas and places and communities that have no proper access by road. There are communities where access to education and health facilities are very difficult. So we want to ensure that in the next 5 years, we will give equitable access to all basic services and communication facilities.
Well, our campaign would be very much focused on the two paths that we have chosen, and that is service with humility and to walk the talk. If the People's Democratic Party comes to power, we would like to pursue very vigorously economic development of our country.
In the valley of Pujika, 100 kilometers from the capital, Kanduom, the campaigner for the DPT, is advised by her father, a former Bhutanese ambassador to the United Nations in Geneva. Today's a religious festival, but we are talking politics.
The business people, a lot of the money industrial people are supporting one party. And so the indication probably they will be expected to use economy as a more important thing. The other party is led by a man who has well known for his promotion of gross national happiness. That means equal development of both spiritual, mind and economics together. Both parties, I would think, they are more pro-monarchy, yes. Because our system today is a gradual devolution of authority to democracy. It is still not a full democracy. Yes. It's still in this process. Because you'll have, like I said, security is still being looked after by His Majesty.
The candidates for the National Council and National Assembly are holding rallies in schools. It is the first time that this type of public meeting has been held in Bhutan. No interventions from the floor for the moment. People come to listen and find out. Tsering Penjor, the teacher of Jiboka, tries to mobilize his troops.
Kuzambola, Carolo. Kuzambola. Torotachin Nalafai de Sukuzambo, Seshunme. Kabisalela, Tripenjo. Kabjiolela. The Nareji Nalo Analo Chamamatovi Hama Ladi, the school Gilevici, Seshunila. Gayong Lojon Pehan Leve Taku the Yube, the Telengaji, Punaha, some Dinkaji. Yalo Jibjoka Lobras Michu, the Analo Losum de Chingaji Chashi is Shunila. The Anale Telen, the Gakabji Tu, Anisum Chugu, Juro Madouchi, Beshinale, the Telen Tinalo Gopcho Jasedu, Begomi Jasedu, Nachara Missy Jaro Jumi Jasesu. The Jibjokaji School Nalo, Alu Jibja gave you the Chitanzi baby, Dumate, Shunila.
There are no ideological battles here. The political rally quickly turns into a course in civic education. Information, not provocation.
The Nima Tosa, the Cody Judu, but a toy 10 times. The little of the way Mola. Could the Labchi, could the Ati, Alama Talama Pusu, development. The little could the Namasame China, no, I never know. Mikara Tardu Tardu, Lojo Bella.
The three teachers of Jibjoka are only two now.
He did it because he wanted to serve the country. Maybe he made the right choice because, as Tsering Penjor said to us, he's interested, so he joined. Maybe he was also interested.
Of course, he is interested, but you know your friend very well. Yeah. Will he able to carry out his responsibility? That's a big question. We'll have to, hope for best for him, yeah.
The big worry here is that there may be a very high rate of abstention. How can you get people involved when they have been sheltered from public debate for so long? A people with no political culture, whose only notion of confrontation is on the games field. There is still time to register.
I'm Chuki Thomo, and you're listening to the National Council Election Update Program series on Kuzu 105.
The young must get involved.
About 60% of our population are under the age of 20. That is why we have begun this series
a long time ago. Oh no, not me. I never lost control. Your face to face with the man who sold the world.
FM is targeted at a youth audience,
And with fervent enthusiasm, you have to vote.
We did our B.Ed course together in Paro. A headstrong person.
I'll vote for deputy.
We'll see the outcome of the campaign day. We still have almost 2.5 months to study them. I still haven't decided.
You love if our country remains as a monarchy only.
It's much better. It's far better. So, from my point of view.
I know the fourth king has been good, but then.
What fourth king?
Still say our fifth king has been on the throne for only 2 years right now. We never know whether he'll be a good king or not. That's what His Majesty fourth king said. He's glad that people like him and then we worship him. But then he's saying he cannot promise that his son is going to be as good as him. No. So
our people need to be very advanced. The attitude has to be advanced.
Ma'am, our people know. Our people, they are now already getting exposed to.
Exposed, they are just exposed. They certainly remember, but they haven't developed that kind of attitude for a long time.
Anything can happen, but then now he's trying to bring all our people into that channel only. Probably.
I hope it's successful. I hope it's successful.
The country is in a state of upheaval. Everything has to be ready for 2008. The Indian government is financing roads. Bhutan tomorrow will be definitively open to India. China to the north can always live in hope. One by one, official buildings are opening. Students are invited to come and see history in the making.
This is the National Assembly Hall, and it was established in 1953. And right now it's under renovation and for the new parliament. And moreover, the sitting arrangement is for the provision of 125 for the National Council and 47 for the National Assembly members. For the new parliament, all the members are directly elected by the people. There are also 5 million members appointed by the king, Gyalpo. Also, public gallery, and these are the priests gallery, opposite house. Oh, okay. And you have in the middle you have a throne that is for king, and that is the altar, and that is the altar.
While people are skeptic, while people have their own reasons to not believe that it's going to work, I believe that we're doing so much better than a lot of other countries.
Yeah, the case that is coming in.
And this transition, we're going through a really smooth transition compared to what other people had to go through.
Just a bit too fast.
A bit too fast.
Voter education had to take place in a very short span of time.
Exactly.
And then moreover, the time for the political parties formation was also a bit, also pretty short. And that is why we just have 2 political parties as of now.
The biggest problem we face is people being too complacent. Most of the population, they're not really interested in democracy, and they don't want to learn, They're just so happy with the old kind of life. They love their king, and they know that the king is going to take care of them. And now they're thrust into this political scene where, campaigning, it's just 2 different people saying 2 different things, families being broken apart.
I think they'd be confused about what to do.
Exactly.
very
cool to do.
When the former Minister of Gross National Happiness goes to a rally, it's as though he were leaving on an expedition.
저번에 통화했는데 3번 그래 요가 내가 있지 그래서 3번 그래서 3번 그래서 3번 그래서 3번 때 같이 주도 지들 같이 보고서 칼랍 소 칼랍 팔로 칼랍 베들 앞서 하는 로스베라 아 버르데 베이바 같이 보고서 받아서 때로 보기 영음에서로 샤다 봐대 모셔
모자게게 람마 말레실레 바메바 남게 셰도 벤다 벤다
After the usual Buddhist prayer and ritual, the rally can start.
미르에 키면 알았다 나시. 이 피아티도 마다 위메. 이 피아티 깁. 됐다. 나로 곱지 같이 마서 책임 메토디. 책임 남초딩이라. 책임 메토디 남초딩 나로 남도 치 버친. 때나기 슈미기 땀데. 때 책임 샘칼로 샤츠. 디멤도 치 버친. 때 가라 예녀라. 라 카베타리 님치 라도 차 베심레. 때 록데 마치나 회베 갈래. 마치 동아리 피아티지 알론도 라시라도 완
All over the country, it's difficult to summon the troops, who are too absorbed by their work in the fields. So, a free meal is offered.
kita ko no tai go bi nga na oni lo me tenga ni be khela be bedo se shui te mi se dis lo ko da tini gila nga yin te mi chi ga na chama to wa chin te charo dis lo che chi ten su be se no ba ni be chama to chi se shuni la
Today it's the women who are invited. Do they have any demands or grievances? And now a sort of miracle is happening. For the first time in their lives, some of them find the courage to voice the difficulties of their daily life in public. There is the problem of the roads, which don't go to all the villages. Public transport, which often doesn't exist. Then there is the school, which is too small for all the village children. Then there's the problem of the men who abandoned their wives and children with nothing to live on. And the electricity, which doesn't reach everybody. Others express their confidence in the new political parties, with the reserve that they may not be as good as the old royal government, because with the king, of course, everything was fine. Maybe the Bhutanese are slowly acquiring a taste for politics, with its opposing ideologies, battles of ideas and demands. And here is the conjunction of sun and moon. The royal astrologer crosses our path. A dignitary of the regime, he is feared and admired. He is a sage, part philosopher, part magician. Will our planets align? Yes, they align. He is the one who decides the exact date of the vote. So that humans can vote in peace, they must wait for a favorable juncture of the heavenly bodies. It will be the 24th of March, 2008. Very soon, in a few weeks. History is speeding up. It's written in the stars. And as the astrologer says, the stars show us the way.
저기 가봇 베니바. 지금 같습니다. 저기.
야 나오면라.
아하하. 그 마플레 주고면 똑과. 똑과 뭐. 저래 총가.
나 그마 빠따로 저거 나 춤숨에 봐. 나 내는 쇼셀라는
아트라프타니에가
유라나 슈가라나
파데시. 예, 저 암산 니처 닌첩시.
정말 지레.
아이 니야 맞잖아.
But is the future really written in advance, in heaven or on earth?
Wilt u naar aanleiding van deze uitzending reageren of een gratis programmagids bestellen? Bezoek dan onze website boeddhistischeomroep.nl. DVD's van onze programma's kunt u bestellen op 010 411 3977.